them higher sentencings, absolutely. But there's a real danger that we get this out of context. If you look at the evidence, the British Crime Survey, the elderly are the least likely to be the victims of crime. And I say that because the real danger of this debate is that the elderly stay behind their closed doors. They don't go out because they're fearful, and in most cases, not always, but in most cases, they don't need to be that fearful.
No, it's not justified.
2 years ago, as now more or less, my sister, who was then 79, was coming back from the supermarket about 10 o'clock in the morning. She had a four-wheeled trolley because she couldn't walk very well. A 15-year-old lad went up to her and said, "Can you tell me the time?" She looked at her watch. With that, he grabbed her purse. She was 4 doors from home. He knocked her to the floor. And
where did she have her purse when he grabbed it?
Well,
yes, it does.
No, it
if she's holding it, it's there, silly.
She should not have been approached.
Yes, no, I'm sorry, but you put it away.
She should not have been approached, sorry, dear.
But you put it
in
away
the first place.
so you don't have to be approached. You're not going to be a target, are you, if you've hidden it away?
She was 4 doors from home. She, no doubt, got her purse out of her pocket to open her purse to get her key out to open the front door when he snatched it.
Hey, Robert, mate.
Hang on, you finish.
The neighbours, some neighbours picked her up and took her indoors, and the upshot was that she lost consciousness. She went to hospital. She was in hospital for 2 weeks, and she died.
Yes, I know, it's tragic.
And what happened?
And the lad got £10. £10 he got.
We should say he was caught and convicted of manslaughter.
It was manslaughter because they charged him before and then he agreed, and so it went to manslaughter.
And he got 3 years, 11 months.
And he got £10 for a lady's life.
He got 3 years, 11 months.
So he'll be out any time now.
Any time now, about 18 months he'll do.
So get it off your chest,
I'd just like to say one thing.
I
know.
There was a Somali family next door. Very nice people. They had a 17-year-old son. Now, we didn't know him. We used to come down because we live in Lincolnshire. We had to come down, of course, and we were backwards and forwards. And this lad was at college, and he used to come round in the morning, knock on the door to see if we were all right.
Yeah. So he was looking after the elderly.
He was looking after the elderly. He was.
So right.
You couldn't fault him.
Margaret.
What I was going to say was...
Who were you going to speak to?
This lady here.
Who you said was talking a load of old rubbish a minute ago?
She was, yes. So you saying if that lady had her purse in her hand...
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we are mature people, not old. We like wine and cheese. We get better as we get older.
Get on with it, Amanda.
What it is, we must be aware of what's going on, right? So we've got to protect ourselves. So you wait until you get to your door before you get your key out, to be honest. If you've got your back, because you've got to protect yourselves.
Listen. Go on.
No,
yes, you are condoning.
No, I'm not.
Excuse me, where do you live?
I'm not.
Where do you live?
Ramsgate.
Are you crime-free and...
No.
Hey, come on, everybody, please.
No,
one at a time.
No.
I can't have you all having a row. I've only got 2 here.
We're not.
Because I can't cope.
Discussion. We're not having a row.
Yeah, we're debating, aren't we?
We're debating, yes.
Right, when I've got a handbag, I've got it over my shoulder, right? Yeah. So, but if I'm out after dark, I've got my handbag on like that, but under my coat. Might look pregnant, but I've got grey hair, so we don't know that. But this is being aware and careful.
Marion, where do you feel on it? Let's pick up from where Bill finished, because Bill is absolutely right, isn't he? Yes. That whatever people fear here, the reality is actually different. Because the British Crime Survey shows very clearly that most crimes are committed by young men against young men. Yeah. And that doesn't mean to say there aren't crimes committed against others, because clearly there are. Yeah. But most of you live in fear of crime, which isn't actually going to be borne out in reality. And you let the fear of crime blight your lives, rather than... That's the case, isn't it? But should they also... Go on, sorry, Marianne.
So I do agree with what Bill has said. It is the fear of crime that is worse now than the actual crime itself.
That people don't go out at night because they're afraid. Right. And they've no reason to be afraid.
Very few older people, thankfully, are the victims. Are the victims of...
Will it Marianne tell you?
Yeah, well done. Are the victims of crime.
Hang on, please.
But it is the fear of it that stops people going out at night. We hear about crimes against older people because it is rare. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
It's not as much as it does to younger people.
Compared with crimes against young men.
Rarer.
Rarer.
Probably better.
Against young men, there's a lot more crimes against young males than there are older people.
I agree with that. Crime is against the young males and against the older. It's against everybody. My son was on his way to school, riding his bike to school, and this geezer on another bike rode into him because he was brand new, knocked him clean off his and stole his. Now, my son didn't turn around and say, that's going to ruin my life because this geezer's done this. Is just one individual, and there's a lot of them, unfortunately, and it's down to the government to try and sort this out. I mean, the way that they're dealing with the police force and taking them off the streets, and I know they're trying to do something about it.
You're going on to another subject there, Sean, and I'm going to go on to another subject. I don't know what this has got to do with what we're talking about. Sean, help me, Sean. It's really hard work here sometimes. Actually, no, I've even forgotten what I was going to say now.
You're going to have another subject.
Isn't it terrible? It's another subject. Yeah. Well, you're all right. You got your marbles, haven't you? You can still stay in there, can't you, Margaret? Even though you're old. Snobbery. That's what it's about. Snobbery. Look at me. See, what is he talking? What I was about to say, talking about another subject. This has got nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but we are going to do a programme on snobbery. So if you're a snob, or you know a snob, or you really hate snobs, do you know what a snob means? What is a snob? 08705 ring it now. Go on. Surprise them. Say, I know this woman next door who thinks she's gone up in the world because she's bought her own house. 08705 107. Or she talks down to you because she's had elocution lessons. Or they send their kids to the little prep school round the corner. What do you think's a snob? Tell me.
Just what you've just...
That'll do, will it?
Yes,
Or they're in a boat house.
A boat house.
A boat house, a private house. Instead of a council house. So they think they're better.
That's right.
Them snobs, aren't they? Yeah, they're snobs. Are you one of them? We're like you as well. Are you one that's... They talk down to you, condescend to you. Oh, come and tell us all about these snobs. What about the government? Now, we know the government's not snobs, but do they show respect for the elderly in respect of pensions, for example?
No, really. We're at the bottom of the category as far as pensions are concerned. If I may reminisce a little bit, I go back to the time in 1993 when I visited the Senior Citizens Parliament in Luxembourg. I discovered then that we were the paupers of Europe in regard to pensions. And we haven't caught up yet. And there's only one way to go for pensions, and that's to come back to index linking of pensions.
Bill?
That's the only honest and sincere way to do it.
Index link pension increases with the increase in earnings or the retail price index, whichever is the higher.
Yes.
Yeah. Bill?
Well, we've got more to do on pensions, but actually for the last 2 years the pension has gone up ahead both of inflation and earnings. We brought in the winter fuel allowance, not perfect, but £200 a year to every pensioner household. For the poorest pensioners, there was an absolute scandal going on. We've now introduced the minimum income guarantee, paid to the poorest pensioners, increased from £67 a week to £100 a week.
Wow.
Over 75s, free TV licences. None of it's perfect, but it's a damn sight better than what went before, and is an indication of the direction we're moving in.
I must admit that, because I know there have been little items added, but basically the pensioner should have a sufficient pension to live on and to retain the quality of life to what they and dignity to what they're entitled. They've paid their corner, they've paid their they paid their taxes, they paid their national insurance. And really, I expected an incoming Labour government not to offer 75 pence, which they did, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, we got it wrong. Politicians
but you are getting it right by degrees, but that's not good enough for us.
Is are the government okay on pensions? Is there a problem? Do they show by the pension provision that they're expecting elderly people to live indignity?
I don't always think so. I think possibly we manage because we have to manage, not because we can't have all the luxuries we need. We manage because we've grown up managing, and we didn't ought to have to manage.
So what do you want to say to him?
I think we just need... A lot of us need more than we get.
Yeah.
To pay for luxury, like a new carpet or something like that.
Hang on, please.
Hard. Can I afford that new carpet? It's a big item.
But haven't we always had this situation? My own pension I find adequate, to be honest. I cut my coat according to my cloth, and luckily I have an allotment. All right, you can laugh, but you...
This is the generation that wouldn't laugh at an allotment.
No, and in fact, this is a generation that was brought up in the war to be fairly careful, self-sufficient and careful. And I would say that the government is going in the right direction.
The pensions are adequate?
On the pension, I would say...
The state pension?
Frankly, on the state pension, yes.
And there's no problems about that?
I find that no particular... I cite particularly the concept of poverty. We don't know what poverty is in this country. We don't know what poverty is. When I think, I'm not joking, when I think of people starving in Africa, think that is poverty.
We raped Africa.
Indeed, we may well have done. But that is real poverty. And there's nobody here. There are some unfortunate people on the street, people of that sort, who are getting very near that.
Pensions.
Yes. This is my grandmother, and all she's got to live on at the end of the week is like £20 after she's paid out her rent, her taxes, water rates, sewages.
That's all I've got left to live on, and I've got a son to bring up as well.
Oh dear.
My son and I...
You come and sit there. You come and sit there. There.
I can't, I'm ill. I can't go to work. And I can't get childcare. Don't look at me like that, thank you very much. Talking about respect, God. Do you play with
Well, this one here in the red. No, where's you? She's looking at. Oh, the one in the blue.
Very filthy look.
Gave you a filthy look. What did she say? Well, she said get a job.
But the thing is, I can't because I'm sick at the moment.
Neither can pensioners.
No. Well, exactly, so we're all in the same boat, aren't we? I've got a son to bring up as well on top of that. My son and I live on £20 a week. Everything else goes on food.
Well, when I was your age, I didn't get £20 a week. I asked the government to help me, and I had 2 children. They offered me £1.
Well, that's what...
And all I get.
Are you getting enough in pensions?
No. No.
It's not adequate?
No.
So when he says about his grand £20 a week after she's left everything, it's the same kind of thing that you're experiencing. I didn't let you finish because she interrupted about her son.
We're all in the same boat, and it seems like...
Yeah, but we're talking about pensions now, not single parents.
Yes, but, you know, myself, I'm unemployed, right? I'm in income support, but the social pays my rent, they pay my tax, but they won't pay an elderly person's rent or tax.
And I've got no money in the bank.
Bill?
Yeah, an elderly person can get council tax benefit, can get housing
my
benefit.
nan gets that little bit over the top by £3.
And that is one of the really key issues. Whenever I talk to pensioners, one of the biggest criticisms is you play by the rules, you save a bit, and you find out you're no better off than if you save nothing
take
at all.
£5 off more than like £3.
Next year, we're bringing in the pensions credit, which for the first time will reward pensioners for having saved. It's one of the most radical initiatives we've brought in, and it will benefit over 50% of pensioners.
Yeah, listen to her. Go on.
You will take it out of the rent and the poll tax.
Yeah.
So you give me £3, you'll take 5.
But by the sound of your income, you're exactly the kind of person next year who will benefit from the pensions credit.
Next year?
Yeah.
How old are you?
73.
Yeah, but it's not as if we're doing nothing at the moment.
Next year, for elderly people, is a long time, Bill.
I know it is, and that's why for 2 years running we've had ahead of inflation and any ahead of earnings rises, and why we brought in the winter fuel allowance.
What about the health service? Does that treat elderly people with respect?
No, it definitely doesn't. I waited 22 months for my operation. I then had it, I had to go back in again because it was wrong, and I'm waiting to go back in again because the operation is still not right. Now, I've got an appointment through today to go tomorrow. If there isn't a bed, tough.
So
you can go home.
Your bed to a younger person, do you think?
Because they're giving the bed to younger people.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Let me meet that head on. I mean, firstly, we need improvements to the National Health Service
need a lot of
across the board, and they are happening. But there is this accusation that the elderly are discriminated against, and we've not let that go by.
I'm not that old.
Hold on. We've actually acted on it. We've actually instructed every hospital in the country to conduct an audit of all its policies and procedures to root out age discrimination. We've changed the procedures on resuscitation of patients, which was one of the biggest criticisms
come round here. Sorry, Bill, let me interrupt you.
From the elderly. So it's a real concern, and we are tackling it. And that survey identified that in the vast majority of hospitals there wasn't a problem of age discrimination, but that doesn't mean we haven't got to do more.
I'm not that old.
Yeah.
You can't say I'm a pensioner because I'm not.
No, I don't.
I go there and they look at me and they're youngsters, the young doctors, and they talk down to me like I'm a complete idiot.
My nan's just...
Hang on, one at a time, please.
My nan's just come out of hospital.
The nan's over there. You've just come from sitting next to her, yeah.
And she, to me, had really good treatment. She was
I didn't have good treatment, I can assure you of that. I had my operation on the Thursday, I was kicked out at 8 o'clock Friday morning, and it's one of the most horrendous operations you can have.
Well, yeah, I don't want to ask you what was it, because that's a very personal question.
It is, and it's a very personal place
it is to say it was on the national...
Don't tell me, unless you want to.
It was a hemorrhoidectomy.
Right.
If you don't know what that is...
We've all had it.
I don't think you have.
For a hemorrhoidectomy? Yes, she has.
You had a hemorrhoidectomy?
Yeah. How many? Hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
This is talking about a hysterectomy.
Hands up the hemorrhoidectomies!
We're not talking about hysterectomy.
Oh, you see all human life here, don't you, Bill?
Kilroy,
hang on.
We're not talking about hysterectomy.
No, we know hemorrhoidectomy.
It's completely different.
Okay, hands up the hysterectomies.
But it's one of the most horrendous operations you can have. And they kicked me out at 8 o'clock the next morning and told me to go and ring my husband
come on now,
fetch me home.
one at a time.
That's wrong.
What?
And I am not a politician that says that the NHS always gets it right. But I tell you what, that young woman there, the experience of her grandmother is far more general. 80% and more of patients who go through the NHS get damn good treatment.
Pat, do you want to speak to it? Do you go on, Pat? Hang on, please, quickly.
I had a fall and broke my wrist about 4 years ago with a bad colus fracture. One broke, one pushed out. I went to the hospital and they x-rayed it, pulled the bone back in and did it up in a slight cast. Come back in a week. I goes back the following week and the young man says to me, oh, well, if you were 20 with years ahead of you, I wouldn't like this at all. So I said, why not? So he went on about, I've got a dominant hand. I said, I'd like two, please. I live on my own. I said, I can't do everything with one hand. So they said, oh, blah, blah, your bones won't knit and all this business. Didn't give me any options. So I said, right, I'm going home. Give me my x-rays, I'm going home. So I went home, went to my hospital. They looked at the x-ray and said it was another week would have been too late to do anything. I was like this.
Right.
And they told me what they could do and said, no, you've got the option to have it or not. I said, I'll have it. Next morning I was in there, had the bones wired together, and they kept me in for 2.5 days, and I had 15 months of physio once a week, 7 days stays for injections because the nerve's gone, and they looked after me fabulously. But if I hadn't spoken out, I would have been like this for the rest of my life. Now, I'm 80 now, and I abseiled down our civic centre in October. 200 feet. Now, would I have done that without that?
I'm going to say this, and not a lot of people are going to agree with me, but it's the truth. And you can't run away from the truth. Where I'm from, we don't get health benefits.
Where are you from?
I'm from Jamaica.
Oh, I thought you were from Birmingham.
We don't get health benefits. We don't get free education. We get nothing free in Jamaica.
What's that got to do with us?
No, I'm trying to say.
How much
at least no.
You can't compare that. You can't compare that with Britain. This is a modern industrialised country.
I know, but
the largest economy in Western Europe. We can afford it.
Excuse me. What I'm trying to
Jamaica
say
can't.
What I'm trying to say is,
be great.
It's human nature.
No, we haven't got to be great. You haven't got to be grateful. Yeah, because you've paid for it and you've built it. And the fact that other countries are worse off is a terrible shame for them, but it's no excuse for us having bad services here because we can afford better. Yeah. We can. And don't let anybody push you to one side with that kind of an argument. Right. Patronise. Are you patronised and condescending, talked down to because you're old? Several people have said that.
I have had a couple of experiences, rather unpleasant.
Because you're old?
I would imagine so.
What kind of things?
Building society, young man, had an appointment with him, kept me waiting, swaggered in, sort of was going to help me, see what we can do to help you. Poor old girl, she doesn't know what she's doing. The fact that I was a bookkeeper and worked in a very profitable little business for 20-odd years, beside the point.
This is the trouble. Because you're older, they think you kind of...
I'm gaga.
The fact that you might have been a brain surgeon or a fighter pilot or an accountant or whatever, you still haven't lost any of that.
I've hung up my working clothes, so I've lost my intelligence and common sense.
Yeah.
Another time...
It's like people who watch daytime television.
Oh, yeah.
No, it is, isn't it? It is. Every single reviewer treats everybody who's watching daytime television as if they've got a big gap between their ears. And they're not. We haven't changed because you've grown older. You're still... In fact, we're more intelligent, aren't we? Because we've got a bit more experience as well. And I suppose you're one of these shopkeepers who talk down to these elderly people.
That's right. I mean,
that's right.
Joining with you, say yes. No, it's what it is. End of the day, I mean, elderly people. It says nothing against elderly people, really. I mean, I'm the news agent. Lots of elderly people come to the shop, right? And we treat them. We normally call them second names, surnames. Mrs. Bertie or Mrs. blah, blah, blah. We call them, we treat them nice. They ask and we serve them. It's not the point, and it's not right to say somebody put you on waiting and say, and just ignore it, younger people. It's not. They're probably busy or doing something else.
It doesn't do with age, you think?
Age.
It's not because they're not treating it like... But they do treat people. It's like they treat you disabled. You ask, it's like the kind of, does he take sugar syndrome, isn't it?
In a whole subject, we're talking about when you have a brand new car and second-hand car, right? You dump it, it's in scrapyard. Scrapyard don't want second-hand car, right? That's the subject here. We just says, oh, we are, because you're older, right? We're getting older. You think this guy says, okay, this old lady, forget it, it's old so-and-so, right? Just dump it, so what? But I think this is not an issue. The concentration...
Well, why raise it then if it's another issue?
Sorry?
You think it's another issue? Do people treat you differently when you're older to what he might be? Are you, as it were, to what he might be treated if you're both together?
I don't think so. I mean, my experiences must be exceptional from what I hear, because I've had good treatment at the at least 5 national health hospitals in the last 5 years. The only time I've been talked down to in an unpleasant way is from a customer standing behind me in the queue to pay in the supermarket, asking me if I was deaf and daft. But of course, fortunately, I was able to turn around, and because I had nobody,
said no, just daft.
I said yes.
Well, why did they say that to you, though?
Well, I don't know why. I never asked them.
Oh, you weren't doing anything. You weren't behaving.
No, I was just daydreaming, I expect.
But that could have been said to anybody.
Oh, yes.
It could have been said to you.
I was going to say, I think patronising happens at all ages. I mean, I can remember as a teenager being told that I was too young to have opinions about things. I can remember my experience of the health service at 21 being told by a doctor that I didn't have the right to ask those questions. I mean, that's very patronising. I was left on a waiting list for 18 months for one of my operations, and at the time I was having 1 week off in every 4, so I don't think it's an age thing. I've been patronised because I've been a single mother. I've been patronised because I've been a university student. I think it's just that in every barrel there's bad apples. But
Absolutely. And it's nothing to do with age. Yeah. Is there a real problem then, Marion, about the way we treat elderly people in this country? We've gone through a whole gamut of things here. Kids on the streets, criminals targeting elderly, vulnerable people, the hospitals, the pensions, shops, talking down, condescending. Is there a real problem?
I think yes, ageism runs right the way through lots of different parts of life. If you think about the media, for example, you think of when older people are portrayed in the soaps or in sitcoms, they're often treated as sort of daft old people that don't really know what they're doing, waiting for God or whatever. But they're often treated as sort of a figure of fun.
How do we put it right? How do we make it a more positive attitude?
I think perhaps the press commission or some of the authorities can do that.
How do we get you? Don't take the microphone. That's 3 times you've gone to take. You went to take the microphone. You went to grab it. How do you make people? How old are you?
I'm 20.
Right. So you're the young people that everybody here is concerned about. You're the young. How old are you?
I'm 20.
Oh, you're both 20. Yes. Okay. How do we help you to have a more positive attitude towards the elderly?
This is to the parents. You have kids, no matter how young they are, from a child growing up. If they're doing something wrong and you say to them, stop, don't do it, and they keep saying no, and going against you. So
you're saying you've got to treat your children?
Do not smile and laugh like it's all funny and cute, because it's not cute. They'll grow up thinking, oh, it's cute to say no to mommy. It's cute to be disrespectful to mommy. Because she laughs, oh, ha, 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 it's funny. So don't do it. You be stern and hard on them. Okay? And that's discipline.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was my friend just along there. Right at the very beginning, you said, I asked, do we treat our elderly people with respect? And she said, it doesn't matter what age they are. You have to treat everybody the same. And everybody is entitled to be treated with respect, irrespective of their age, until they act in a manner that suggests otherwise. True. Take care of yourselves.
Do you think visiting a brothel is still taboo? Or is it acceptable these days for men to pay for sex? Whatever your views, call Kilroy now on 08705 100 771. Are you a man who's visited prostitutes and doesn't see anything wrong with it? Have you had a relationship with a man who has slept with prostitutes? Perhaps you discovered he'd been to one behind your back. Call too if you work as a prostitute and think the law should be changed.